Yes, the beloved Valentine's Day episode, pretty much right in time for Valentine's Day. And we have this power struggle of a relationship triangle going on. And from what I can see in the cover, there's going to be another person involved as well. But for what we have right now, this episode was about the perfect dynamic between the three of them and everything that they bring to the table for each other and the confusions and everything else that goes along with it. So before I talk a little too much more about this, let's delve right into this episode, and at the end of it we will delve more into it. So this episode starts off and we can tell right off the bat that they are definitely at a karaoke joint, and we could see that Fuyuki is the one singing at this point in time, and she's a good singer and she has a lot of charisma. So it really feels like, you're really hanging out with your friends and the song is good. And that really helps a lot. But at the same time, our poor boy Tsubasa is sitting there and he's like really nervous because at the end of the song, she's like, I love you. And because it's the lyrics, obviously. But the way she says it and the way she's looking right at him and everything to go along with it, he feels a little nervous because obviously this boy is a straight up grade A. I wouldn't say loser, but definitely a closeted boy. You know what I'm saying? So we go to the intro scene and the opener goes on and we get back to the episode. And we can see that there's I think 8 or 9 of them at this karaoke joint, half female, half male. And her female friends always talking about how she always picks that song every time they go out. And, Fuyuki, states, exactly how it is. It cheers her up and it makes her feel happy, which is something that comes along later on in the episode. And it shows how well not only the writer pays attention to detail, which obviously as a series, you kind of do, especially if you're writing it, but at the same time, how decent of a person Tsubasa is overall in this episode. So on the other end of the table is the boys, and add Sayuri to that end of the table as well. Not to say she's a man, but she's sitting over there next to Tsubasa, and they're talking about BSing with each other about whether or not either of them have really ever gone to karaoke before. And obviously, Tsubasa never really has, and Sayuri has gone by herself, but that's just because, she didn't really have any friends per se. Nothing wrong with that, it's just, when you're with friends, you're obviously not going to go to karaoke with some other people, So, he's not judging whatsoever, because it's like I said, it's not like he's really done much different along those lines and everything. So, right after that, it's literally Tsubasa and Sayuri's turns to go, but they have no idea what songs to pick. And of course, our girl Minami or Fuyuki, either way, jumps right in between the two of them and decides to look for songs for them. And she kind of looks towards Sayuri and winks at her. And this is kind of a complex, convoluted love triangle thing we got going on this episode. I mean, it's been kind of going on for the last few episodes, but this one really feels like it really is more convoluted. And I think they're doing that intentionally, obviously, because we're getting more towards the middle of the series and the theme of the episode. But we start to talk, and we don't really get to see them sing, but Fuyuki's discussing how it's pretty much Valentine's Day now, and they're talking about making chocolates, and obviously our boy himself is wondering if she's gonna make anybody chocolates, specifically probably thinking about himself. And right off the bat, this other guy that's on the end of the table right next to Tsubasa is like, you gonna make me chocolates this year? And she replies with yes, but we kind of find out that she gives everyone chocolates because she's just that popular, cliche type of girl. And they ask Sayuri if she makes chocolates for anyone, but she just kind of blows it off and says she'd rather spend it on her hobbies or video games, which is probably true up to this point, especially considering the fact that she's kind of been a loner, And so Right after this, they go outside and everybody kind of splits off except for, Tsubasa, Fuyuki, and Sayuri. And they're talking about, how she wanted to kind of say something. And by she, I mean, obviously, Sayuri. And she didn't really speak up and say anything. So they kind of just keep walking. And she's staring at her cell phone, and you can kind of see, 10 ways to find out what your Valentine likes. And we can clearly see that she was probably most likely going to ask Tsubasa or Fuyuki, either one, but probably Tsubasa, which kind of chocolate he likes. And, they kind of, ask her what she's doing behind, and they kind of catch up, and then they split off. So we get to see Sayuri at her house, kind of like looking at her phone after getting done playing a nice cleared round of some awesome video games. And she's kind of like, in denial about wanting to make these chocolates and how she shouldn't make these chocolates. And the next thing we know, she's at the freaking store looking down the aisle, just kind of like looking around, kind of hidden around the corner, looking at the chocolates. And lo and behold, who shows up? Fuyuki. She shows up and she's like, oh, what's she doing here, And she's like trying to make every excuse in the book about how her nail polish is coming off, and she gets called out for that. And then she tries to make another excuse about it, about maybe she wants some makeup instead, some cosmetics, and so she asks her for some help to go look for quote unquote cosmetics. And so they get their cosmetics and they get all done with it, and they're talking about sharing some of them at school, so they can bring them to school. And, right before you think they're going to split up, Fuyuki asks her what kind of chocolate she likes for Valentine's Day. And she tells her what kind of chocolate she likes, but then at the same time, she also asks Fuyuki if she can join along. And of course, Fuyuki's very excited about this because she's very friend-oriented, and the fact that somebody's asking for help, especially somebody she's kind of wanted to be friends with forever, makes her really happy. And so we move on to, the fact that she gets everything she needs, and Fuyuki promises Sayuri that this is going to be the best chocolate she's ever had in her whole life. And they're splitting ways, moving out of the mall and everything. And Fuyuki tells her if she needs any help, don't hesitate to call her. So before they can split up, though, we get this really first kind of awkward moment in the episode where Sayuri asks Fuyuki if she's going to make our boy Tsubasa a nice fancy chocolate, like a special chocolate. And of course, Fuyuki's face goes like pure red with this look of like she's definitely conflicted with her own emotions, And but at the same time, she replies like, yeah, well, of course, we're friends, And when they split up, you see Fuyuki with this look of like obviously embarrassment, or just not embarrassment, I guess, but just the fact that she's like hiding her own emotions, and she's got that blush going on, and like because she feels like it's like Fuyuki thinks that Sayuri likes Tsubasa, and Sayuri thinks that Minami likes him, and they both like him, but like, oh my gosh. So we get actually back to our boy Tsubasa, and he's over there, and he's studying for the finals, right? He's just not even thinking about anything, studying for finals. And we flash to Sayuri, and she's making chocolates. And of course, Fuyuki's asking how it's going, and so they end up calling each other. And she's guiding her through the whole process about chopping the chocolate and double boiling the milk and everything along those lines. Everything's going great. And she asks Fuyuki how hers are going, and we get to see like a diagram of all of them, and they're all looking pretty dang good. Like, she's made cookies, she's made like just a bunch of stuff, and she ended up making 70 this year, which is 10 more than she made last year. And we get to see this one really fancy one in the middle here. It's like this big chocolate heart with like filling in the middle and whip and a little candy that she puts on the top of it. Needless to say, we can probably tell who that one is for. But and she's talking about how she loves just the fact that, how people react when she gives them out, especially looking at this one. That for a fact that's who that's for. But, before anything, really happens here, Fuyuki's asking who she's giving her chocolates to, and of course, Sayori's giving them to Fuyuki, and she's gonna give them to Tsubasa. And at this point in time, Fuyuki's now asking her if, maybe she likes Tsubasa. Before anybody can answer, the tragedy happens where Fuyuki accidentally knocks over everything, like soy sauce, milk, powder, everything, and just ruins all of the cookies. Absolutely devastating. You can tell she put a lot of time, effort, and passion into this to give to her friends, and they're all just destroyed. And we get a real big close-up onto the one that you can tell was for, Tsubasa. And whew, they get off the phone call, and of course, Sayori's a good friend. She's worried about her, but, she tells her everything's gonna be fine. Well, I'll see you tomorrow at school. And of course, our boy wakes up in the morning. He's not trying to get his hopes up about getting anything, but at the same time, he kind of wants to get something. And he gets to his locker, and of course, there's nothing in there, which he kind of expected. But at the same time, no harm, no foul, getting your hopes up. So he gets to class, and Fuyuki gives him a chocolate that's like this candy bar. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it's just a store-bought candy bar. And he can kind of notice right off the bat that her eyes are a little red, which is obviously from the puffiness from her crying because of all that work and just that, the whole kit and caboodle. And so he gets the chocolate, and he's, even though they're store-bought, he is more excited than flies on horse shit. Like, he is so happy. Never gotten a chocolate in his life on Valentine's Day before, and this time he got one. And of course, she's talking about you can't find these in Tokyo probably, and he's all excited about it. And she keeps giving him out a little bit more and more. And excuse me, we get to see the redhead who was at the karaoke bar, and he gets a candy bar from her, and she's like, oh, I was hoping for homemade, and she gives due to unforeseen circumstances, it's canceled this year. And of course, he's a total prick about it, and he's all like, what a letdown, and blah 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 blah, just not a cool dude. And so he leaves the classroom, and of course, Sayori sees this, and she sees him, and gives him just this death stare, like, the next time he talks to her like that, she's literally gonna pound him. And rightly so. She knows how much work she put into this, how devastating it was. And even if that wasn't the case, that's extremely rude to say that, just the fact that she went out of her way to even buy them for you is, something you should be grateful for. So we get to the end of the day, and it's clean duty, and Fuyuki and Tsubasa are in the music room cleaning up a little bit, and they're just kind of commenting on how quiet it is, because usually there's music going on because all extracurricular clubs are canceled until after finals. And so before, Tsubasa can answer, or not answer, I guess ask what's wrong, Fuyuki just breaks down crying, and it's absolutely devastating. And he's he wants to figure out what's wrong. And of course, on the other end of the wall, Sayori's there, and she was going to come in there and talk to them, but of course she understands the situation, gives them space. And so she's obviously telling him about how they were all cracked and they got milk on them, and that her mother warned her to put everything away, but she didn't put them away. And she is just bawling and not having a good time, right? And so, of course, Tsubasa can't really do much, and all he can do for her is he goes to the piano and starts playing that song that she played at the karaoke bar. And of course, she realizes what song this is, and she has just this absolute look of admiration and happiness. And just the fact that he played that song is definitely something, because we'll see here in a second, but obviously he remembered that she said that. And on top of it, how it made her feel. And the fact that he even mentions the fact that she's always cheering him up, and that's his turn to cheer her up. And coincidentally, he had history in piano with his rich family and everything. He probably had lessons, but on top of it, he learned by ear and played this song for her. And now she's all cheered up, and she's so happy. And it just goes to show how much attention Tsubasa pays to Fuyuki. And everybody can ship anybody they want to. I do love Sayuri as a person, but I obviously want Fuyuki to end up with, him. Because these two are, like, meant for each other. They're complete opposites that fit just perfectly into this puzzle piece. And after that, finally, Sayuri walks in, and after the whole situation's calmed down, and, she's, even saying she's got chocolates to hand out, and Fuyuki's about ready to run out of the classroom because, she thinks that she's just going to give chocolates to Tsubasa. And, before she can run out of the classroom, she hands her a box, Tomo chocos, friend chocolates. And gives her almost like a snotty look, one eye closed, chin up, giving her the chocolates. And ironically, of course, Tsubasa's like embarrassed because he thought they were going to be for him when they clearly weren't. But she ends up giving him the quote unquote leftover chocolate in a bag, anyways. And even, compliments him on how cool it was on the piano just now. And it's almost the fact of, is it cool because he can play piano like that? Is it cool because he cheered up Fuyuki like that? Is it a friendship thing? Is it a love thing? Who knows? Who's to say at this point in time? But, at this point, it's pretty neat because they're all in the music classroom and they're sharing chocolates and everything's goody. And that's pretty much the end of the episode. Overall, I really enjoyed this episode, and I think it really adds that dynamic of the friendships and how much they pay attention to each other and what they do for each other. And I think it's really going to stack up because, as I said, I don't know anything about the source material manga, but I know we're going to meet another character, and it'll be interesting. Or I think there's a couple other characters, to be quite honest with you. We got half a series left. Very excited. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode down in the comments. What do you think? How do you feel about this series going so far as it is? Any gropes, any complaints, just let me know. If you enjoyed this video and you stayed this long, it means a lot to me. Hit that like button. And if you're feeling real generous, hit the subscribe button. I upload weekly. Plan on doing a little bit more around here, getting creative with it, we'll see. But yeah, this is the end of the video. This has been Squids, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.